Okay, so think about it like this. You're about to build a giant skyscraper. You wouldn't just show up with some bricks and start stacking them, right? Of course not. You'd start with a really detailed blueprint. Well, building software is pretty much the exact same thing. And that blueprint, that's what we call software architecture. But what if you skip that part? What if you just have a great idea, tons of energy, and you just start coding with no real plan? That's a question that, believe me, leads to some of the biggest headaches in the entire tech world. And that brings us right to our first section here, the cautionary tale of what happens when you build without that master plan. This is where amazing ideas can go completely off the rails. So first, you might find yourself stuck with this: spaghetti code. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. Just a tangled, unstructured mess where every piece of code is connected to every other piece. You know, trying to change one little thing is like pulling a single noodle from a bowl of pasta. The whole thing just comes with it. It's an absolute nightmare to maintain or test. Or you could end up with its even more terrifying cousin, the big ball of mud. Now, this is a system that, maybe it started out with some kind of structure, but over time, with all the quick fixes and uncontrolled growths, it's just lost its shape completely. It's a developer's worst nightmare, a system so messy it actively resists any attempt to understand it. So here's the really crucial part. This isn't just about having messy code. The real-world consequences are serious. Development just turns into chaos, where nobody's really sure what their changes are going to break. You can't guarantee quality, things like speed or reliability. And maybe worst of all, your teams can't even communicate properly because there's no shared plan, no common language to talk about the system. Complexity just spirals, completely out of control. But, okay, don't worry. There is a hero in this story. There's a way to fight back against all that chaos. So it's time to properly introduce the master plan: software architecture. So what is it, really? The official textbook definition says it's the high-level logical structure of a software system and so on. Basically, think of it as the 30,000-foot view. It's not about the tiny details, the individual lines of code. It's about the big pieces, how they talk to each other, and how the entire system fits into the world around it. In other words, that fancy definition breaks down into some really powerful, simple ideas. Your architecture is the system's blueprint, period. It's the roadmap that shows developers where to go. It becomes the shared language that everyone on the team can actually use to talk about the project. And this is a big one. It's a record of the most important decisions you made along the way. But why go through all this trouble? Well, because a good architecture has a direct impact on the health of your system. You have to ask these questions. Is it scalable? I mean, can it handle 10,000 users just as easily as it handles 10? Is it maintainable? Can you fix a bug or add a new feature without breaking everything else? And is it available? Does it actually stay online when your users need it? Good architecture is the key to answering yes to all three. Okay, this brings us to a really crucial shift in how we look at this. Architecture isn't just some diagram you draw one time and then forget about. It's a way of thinking. It's a mindset that's all about understanding and balancing different forces. Really, it's all about the trade-offs. The legendary software engineer Grady Booch just said it perfectly. The truly important decisions, the ones we call architectural, are the ones that are super expensive to change later on. I mean, picking the wrong database or the wrong way for your components to talk to each other, that can cost you months or even years to fix down the road. You can actually distill this way of thinking down into 3 fundamental laws. These are the principles that every good architect just lives by. First, everything is a trade-off. Second, understanding why you're making a choice is way more important than the specific technology or how you do it. And third, and this is the big one, there is no such thing as a perfect architecture. Let's just hang on that first law for a second, because honestly, it is the most important concept in this entire explainer. Say it with me. Everything is a trade-off. You simply can't have a system that's the fastest and the cheapest and the most secure all at the same time. It's impossible. You always have to choose what's most important. So, if it's all about making choices, what are the options on the table? Well, architects don't just start from a blank page every time. They have a whole catalog of proven blueprints, or what we call architectural styles, and each one comes with its own set of strengths and weaknesses. Here are just a few examples to give you a taste. First, you've got the classic N-tier or layered style. This one neatly separates your user interface from your business rules from your database. Then there's the super popular microservices style, which breaks a big app into lots of small independent services. You also have event-driven architecture, where different parts of the system just react to events as they happen. And then you have something like peer-to-peer, where every machine is equal, like you see in blockchain systems. And this brings us right to the heart of the architect's job. With all these different blueprints, how in the world do you choose? Well, the goal isn't to find some perfect, flawless solution that does everything. The real goal is to find the least worst solution for your specific problem. And that's because context is everything. Think about it. A startup trying to launch a new social media app has totally different priorities than a government agency building a system for tax records. The startup needs speed, right? They need to be able to change things fast. The government, on the other hand, is going to prioritize security and long-term reliability above absolutely everything else. Different contexts demand different architectures. This table right here makes those trade-offs totally concrete. Look at that classic layered architecture. Sure, its scalability is pretty low, but it's super simple and cheap to build. Now, compare that to microservices. It gives you incredible scalability, but that comes at a price, high complexity and high cost to operate. Same with event-driven. You get high scalability, but again, you're trading away simplicity. There is just no free lunch here. So we end up right back where we started. At that fundamental law, there is no perfect architecture. The best architects aren't the ones who've memorized the most patterns. They're the ones who are best at understanding the context and then choosing the right set of trade-offs for that specific job. And that leaves us with a final question for you to take with you. Whatever your next big idea is, whether it's a simple website or a world-changing app, just stop for a second and ask yourself, what really, truly matters most here? And based on that, what's the least worst way for me to build this thing?